ones. Value structure and criteria. Value structure and criteria. So, the type of debate we're doing is value debate, right? We've already talked about values, or what we're talking about. We aren't talking about what the best policy is, we're talking about values. So these broader ideas. And so, what we're going to talk about for a few minutes is the structure of a value and those sort of things. So, real quick, Kia, what's the best ice cream flavor?
Strawberry.
Strawberry. Any disagreement?
Vanilla.
Cookies and cream.
Yeah.
Cookies and cream good. Vanilla is in cookies and cream. I gotta go for
What? You want vanilla, Josh?
Yeah.
Vanilla? Any other flavors?
Pralines and cream.
Pralines and cream.
Pralines. Pralines.
Sound different. It's pralines.
Any
I
other?
haven't had that, so.
Lamani, you have a preference? That's not on this
Mine
list?
was cookies.
Cookies and cream? Okay. Any other?
Oh, put a star by that because I like that too.
By this? Okay. So these are what the best flavor is. So clearly, which is the right answer? Do we know?
Cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Well, if that's the case, vanilla.
Vanilla. Oh, so here's the question: how would you decide which is best? What's the way that you would go about? So, Jacques, why would you say that vanilla is best?
Because it tastes good.
Tastes good. Okay, so let's assume somebody comes from a foreign country where they've never seen ice cream before, and you get to introduce them to it. How would you help them decide what the best flavor of ice cream is?
Give them different varieties.
Give them different varieties. What are other types of things we could do? We could set up a list of things that. How do you? So let's say you go to the grocery store and somebody says you have as much money as you want to spend on ice cream, but you can only get one container. What kind do you get?
I would go to Sam's.
You get the massive one.
Yes.
So Stephanie says bigger is better. Kia.
I don't know how to say it. Metropolitan. It comes with all those new ones.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So one with all the different flavors. So part of when we're debating is we can think about values like ice cream flavors. There's lots of different flavors out in the world and lots of different things out in the world that we could potentially be thinking are better than other things. But the real question we need to have is what way could we decide which actually is better, or for a specific situation. So maybe vanilla is the best if we're having like a really rich chocolate cake. And so if the question is what's the best ice cream to pair with a really rich chocolate cake, maybe then we all say vanilla. But maybe if it's what's the best kind of ice cream to put with like a specific type of other kind of dessert, maybe we say no, vanilla is not the kind we want. We'd rather have strawberry or some other kind of ice cream. So something to keep in mind is that there are many different varieties and flavors of values. There's many different flavors and varieties of values. There's lots of different types. So we talked a little bit about some of these before, and we've got human life, or we have capitalism, or the free market, or democracy, all these sorts of things. And we don't necessarily know which is the best for a specific given round. So definition or taste will vary with the speaker or manufacturer. So the definition, how we define a value and how they taste or how they look. So how an ice cream flavor tastes is going to be different. Vanilla is going to be different from Edie's or from Sam's or from some other different place, right? You're going to get different kind of vanilla ice cream. So there's many different varieties and flavors. The definition or the taste vary with the speaker or with the manufacturer if we're talking about ice cream. And there's no standard way to pick the best. There's no standard way to pick the best type of ice cream or to pick the best value. And so that's one thing that we have to be remembering when we're debating is there's not some rule out there that says, we put all values in alphabetical order and the one that is the last on the list is the best. We don't have a rule like that. And so when we're debating values, we have to come up with other ways to decide which are the best values. So if we're comparing these ice cream flavors, maybe we say, look, the best ice cream flavor is the one that the most people can eat. And so if somebody's allergic to nuts, then obviously any ice cream flavor with nuts in it is not going to be acceptable. If people are allergic to fruit, then they can't eat that. Or all these sorts of criteria exist. And so we need to have some sort of way to come up with what is the best, but there's not a standard way to do it. So how can we differentiate? And the way we can differentiate is through a value criterion. this is going to be one of the most important things we talk about because this is going to keep coming up all year long, the value criterion. So the value criterion is a way to choose between many options. So if we have lots of flavors of ice cream or lots of different values, how are we going to pick between them? We look to our value criterion. With the value criterion, we weigh or compare the competing options. So this means that maybe you have human life as one value and you have national security as the other value. And you might say, look, if those are our two values and we're looking at our resolution about illegal drugs, you might say that, look, national security is something that comes from criminal justice and human life is something that we get from public health. And how do we compare those things? The way we're going to compare it, how are we weighing those two options against each other, is with our value criterion. This is a lens to focus the debate round. So you can think of the value criterion as a perspective that you're looking down on the entire debate round and thinking, what is the best option, what is not? And it's going to be based on certain criteria that value criterion gives us. So it's the lens that we're looking through. Any questions so far?
So do they give you the value criterion?
So when you're on the affirmative, you will present the value criterion. And usually, as on the negative, you're going to be debating with the affirmative on whether or not this is a good value criterion for the round. You might say, wait a minute, we shouldn't be deciding what is the best or what is the worst based on your value criterion, because your value criterion might be what provides the most money to society. And you may say, well, wait, but obviously human life, if my value is human life and yours is capitalism, and you think that the way we should decide the round is who provides the most money, well, the person who has human life is going to always lose that fight. But you might say that's not the way we should be looking at this round. There's another more important lens we should be looking at. So let's think about how important the value criterion is. How important is the value criterion? It offers the judge a way to evaluate the round. And who decides every debate round? Who gets to vote? The judge. So the person who decides the debate round is given the value criterion as a way to evaluate the round. So the judge gets this as a way to evaluate the round. It also controls which arguments are important. And so, like we just talked about, if the criterion talked about providing the most money, and you brought up an argument saying that, look, if we started treating this as public health, it would really help a lot of people stay alive, but the criterion is just how do we get the most money, then that's not going to apply, right? So you're telling people what's important in the world. Third, it says that both sides are going to use the value and criterion to affirm or to negate the resolution. So both sides are going to use it to affirm or negate. You aren't going to just have a value criterion for the affirmative team or just one for the negative team. Both sides need to bring the whole round. So if you have the value here, it looks like this, and you have the criterion. And then down here is the case. This is all the arguments being made. So everything comes through this perspective. And you're trying to argue about which parts of the case. So you have like an affirmative case and a negative case. And the question is, who better reaches this criterion? That's how the judge is going to decide the round. And the last thing is that it's a way to tell you whether or not we achieve the value. So the criterion is a measuring stick. It's kind of like if we put a ruler outside and we said how many inches of rain just fell. You're saying how much of this value did we reach this value or not. And there might be a certain level you have to reach in order for this value to happen. So that's how it's going to be used in a debate round.